Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that when it comes to a certain title in the not-so-gacha space, but a title that many in the gacha space are aware of, it can always get worse. And the situation in the game that we're going to be talking about today is, of course, Duet Night Abyss. You can see it over here. We've got an official announcement by the developers, and it's pretty clear that this announcement is not very good at all, and it skips over a lot of the massive issues that have resulted from the game getting hacked. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have some evidence. We actually have some proof over here that there was a malware executable, something like that, injected into the game. At some point, it was spread through pretty much every single platform available for the game, including Steam, which is like nuts that they were able to ship malware through Steam and have it actually infect some computers. And there's been obviously a notice posted by the developers. There's been a notice posted officially, but it seems to skip over the massive number of actual problems that have occurred and are boiling it down to just regarding abnormal game login issues. Ladies and gentlemen, this was posted by the official Duet Night Abyss account. And at this point, I think the game is safely approaching EOS because something called trust, right? Something called honesty. There's not a lot of it over here. And, well, this is following the first hack that the game actually got, which you can see over here. We have Keitaro GG and Main League Flow. Yeah, these guys kind of fucked up the game only 21 days ago. Guys, it's only been 3 weeks since the game got hacked initially. And with the level and the severity of this second hack being even higher, right? Or really, the lack of security being even higher, and the fact that something like an actual malware, a fucking malware being injected into the game, yeah, that's pretty fucking bad, right? That's pretty awful. And who knows what other data, what other sensitivity stuff, right, these guys have gotten access to. And so this hack wasn't really that bad, right? All it did was just put some goofy stuff into the game, change some of the login menus, stuff like that. Not really something that was like ruining people's accounts or like, you know, stealing their login information from their bank and stuff. But this one, oh dearie me, it's not looking good. So why don't we go ahead, actually take a look and start breaking down what the developers communicated. Dear Fox Hunter, the login issues occurring after the March 18th game update have now been resolved as of March 18th, 2026, whatever time. You may now log in normally. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused. Thank you for your support and understanding of Duet Night Abyss. And compensation, guys, they had malware injected into the game, and I think they gave out 100 of, like, their premium resources, which is, well, if you've actually played the game before, 100 is not particularly much to do anything. So, this is, like, even if they were trying to, like, bribe the players with, like, something good to make them, like, shut up, yeah, that's not even, like, a pull on their cosmetic gacha. So, like, I'm not even sure what the point of this even is. It's, like, well, first you got hacked really bad. It's like super bad to the point where people are like now having to like wipe their computers and stuff to fix it. And the compensation for it is pretty much non-existent. It's literally pennies. I think this costs about like 60 cents or $1 to buy in-game. And you can see over here, the reaction by the community is not very good. There's 34 comments and 0 upvotes. That means this shit is actually negative. That means this shit is actually below 0, but Reddit just doesn't show posts that are in the negatives, and this is by the official account. As you can see, right, this is not looking particularly good. And I think the worst part about it is that you're getting comments like this. Turns out ZZZ players can do at least a couple of things right? Let's take a look over here. Imagine having an actual login stealer and calling it abnormal game issues. And then, of course, somebody shows evidence of the fact that there's a literal Trojan called umbralstealer.dg, whatever the fuck this is supposed to be, right? That got put into the game. And thankfully, it looks like Windows Defender and, you know, whatever other security systems that are set up, right? It looks like they're actually able to quarantine it right off of the bat. But there might be some people that didn't have this activated, right? And now all their shit is gone. Like, just imagine you're playing Duet Night Abyss, right? Just imagine you're playing Duet Night Abyss. You log in for an amazing March 18th update, and next thing you know, you're like the president of Venezuela. You update the game, you wake up one day, and then everything is just gone. That is essentially what has happened to some people over here if they didn't have the right security measures set up on their PC. Hopefully, it hasn't happened to most people out there, but I'm sure there are going to be plenty of victims that we'll be hearing about in the next few days. And you're now at the point where people are like starting to make comments on the official Reddit, and they're saying stuff like this. If I didn't log in since March 14th, am I safe? I play on Steam. And this is the big one over here. And this is likely what most people are doing. I have already uninstalled after learning about this a few minutes ago. Yes, guys. That is what people are saying right now. So, naturally, right, you should be safe as far as I'm aware. The problem was part of the update today, but it never hurts to do a full scan of your PC, though. So, yeah, there's a lot of people wasting a lot of time on... Well, it's not... I guess it's not actually wasting time, because this is like getting an MRI, right, or a CT scan at the hospital. You're looking if you have a disease, because the devs are, unfortunately, people that have allowed the disease to get into your computer. Because how else do you explain this shit coming out in one of your updates? That means that something internally at DNA ended up getting hacked. And that's not very good, is it? And so this is just an example of the types of like discussions that are happening in the Discord right now. Bro, people are schizoing the fuck out. Well, not really schizoing. They're just freaking out, rightfully so. Because, you know, they're just talking about, oh, this shit scares me all of a sudden. It's already applied since my antivirus sent notifications already, but the game's still launched. People aren't actually sure if this requires you to download the patch. People aren't actually sure with Steam auto-updating the game. Sorry, let me just make sure I don't... Do I even have this shit on Steam? Oh, I don't. I don't, thank God, right? If you have this game on Steam... and it's been auto-updating on the side, you might actually have to check if you have the virus. Thankfully, I use the external launcher for the game, and the last time I opened the game was in 2025. So, I think I'm pretty good. But if Steam was auto-updating your stuff, there's actually potential that you got that Trojan, you got that malware, and it's on your PC somewhere. But that's the thing. Nobody's actually sure. People aren't, like, fully aware of what's going on. And obviously, the devs themselves aren't being particularly clear or very helpful at all when it comes to securing their users' devices after this vulnerability has happened. Abnormal login issues refers to actual malware RCE executable injected into the game, by the way. Yikes. Why would they downplay this? Login issue. Pan Studio. You literally let info-stealing malware in your consumers' devices. Do not downplay this. This game gives so much fun. I haven't laughed like that in months. I can already tell this is somebody that's like English second language. And like, something gives me the vibe that they're from China. I don't know what it is. Yeah, just a simple malware. Resolved quickly. Defender blocked it or whatever shit. It still was a fucking malware. Them giving 100 Foxy is like they don't give a fuck and already knew that something like that happens. Or because they do not want to give anything to remaining players and lose what potential remaining revenue is left. Bro, maybe the malware like does the opposite of Grammarly and it like fucks up your sentence structure. Or this guy's like from like some Asian country. I don't know. That's just the vibe that I'm getting over here. But yeah. And this is where you start getting into EOS territory. This is where you start getting into game quit territory, right? I had hope, but after the second serious security flaw, this time malware, it was the last straw. I have 446 hours of gameplay and I'm uninstalling. And only 100 Foxy in compensation for a very serious problem that isn't even a single pull and a simple login issues notification. The company is now on my list to ignore any title related to it. Yeah, it's not looking particularly good, is it, ladies and gentlemen? And when the game is currently at viewership levels that look like this, right? I don't think it's going to get very much better. And I think the only reason why there are so many people covering the game right now is because the game got hacked like a couple of hours ago. So, like, people are, like, in the category to go farm it. And you can kind of see, like, that's kind of just the proof looking at the daily averages across the past week. What's abundantly clear is that Pan Studios has fucked up tremendously. Their communication is also completely, legitimately awful in this situation. And when it's only been 3 weeks, or honestly, less than 3 weeks since your game already got hacked in the first place, with this situation, that was obviously not as bad, you already lost a good number of players with this one. How many more do you think they're going to lose with this one? And part of me is actually thinking that the game might have some consequences from Steam as well, because Steam is now essentially complicit in distributing malware through this game to its users. And that's not really that good either. I don't think Steam is particularly going to be very happy with this one. And now people are getting into some of the steps that you need to take. Oh, does this remind you of something? Yeah, this reminds me of the time that, like, the Enfield poll tracker website got hacked, right? Well, people were talking about how they need to, like, clean their PC. I remember Fobmaster reformatting his entire shit and reinstalling Windows 11 after this. There's probably going to be some people doing that. A lot of games are getting hacked for some reason, and it's happening really, really, really frequently. Maybe the hackers are getting good, or maybe the devs are just really tremendously fucking up. And as far as I'm concerned, it's only been Hypergriff and DNA and Pan Studios and stuff that are getting cooked like this. And, I mean, as far as I can tell, those devs don't seem to be working that much on security improvements when this is something that only happened 3 weeks ago. And so now, right, this post over here is starting to gain a lot of traction. 48 minutes ago, and 58 upvotes on the DNA subreddit. This is the greatest post in, like, DNA subreddit history at this point. We've now had 2 security incidents. DNA needs to answer for this. And the second one makes it impossible to keep pretending the first was harmless or that proper protections were put in place afterwards. And I think that's the thing that is pissing off players the most. The fact that the last hack was only 3 weeks ago, and it seems like nothing was done to remedy this. This latest attack reportedly shows that attackers were able to inject files. It's not a minor issue, and it should alarm everybody. Everybody who's left. A company handling user accounts, personal information, billing data, and game installations should be responding to something like this with far more transparency and urgency. And this is where stuff starts getting bad. There's a lot of people that have spent money on Duet Night Abyss. There's a lot of people that have linked up certain payment information, certain platforms, blah, 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 all of that stuff to the game. And there's a good possibility, there's a decent chance, right, that if this information or these malware injections, right, are so simple and I guess so easy for these hackers to put in, well, how simple and how easy is it for these hackers to get your, well, sensitive payment information, billing data, all of that? At this point, we cannot just take DNA at its word that everything is fixed. And you can't, because they got hacked again within 3 weeks of this shit happening. Yeah. It's fixed does not answer the real questions people should be asking. What was compromised? What data was accessed or exposed? How many users were affected? Do the malicious files, are they still there? And what are people supposed to do to protect themselves? This kind of reads off as like Hypergriff turning off the PayPal button when people were literally getting robbed by the Japanese and Spanish. That's kind of what this like reads off as. It's like the same energy over here. Yeah, no, it's fixed, guys. Don't worry. I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like that. Incidents like this would normally call for a full security audit and a clear public statement. Players deserve a detailed explanation for what happened, the scope of the damage, and what mitigation steps are being recommended. There's none of that. Yeah, there ain't none of this shit. So far, DNA has not provided any level of disclosure, and that silence is a huge part of the problem. When a company fails to communicate clearly after repeated incidents, it forces the community to fill in the blanks on their own, or really, the natural next response should really just be probably not play the game anymore. Mods, I know you want to avoid doom posts in your low-quality posts, and I get that, but this is not about spreading panic. Because the panic is already here, dude. People had malware put on their PCs from Steam and the game. It is about player safety and accountability. The community should be able to openly discuss what happened, what risks might still exist, and what we should be demanding before anyone gets to confidently say the game is safe to play again. Bro, I think this is the thing. This response coming out so fast when you don't even reasonably know what fucking happened is ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. And apparently there were like hacked promo codes and stuff for the game too. That's what one of the chatters said. I would need to see proof of that. But I don't even know how you end up with like hacked promo codes in the game. I guess that just kind of like shows what the vulnerabilities in this game are, if that's actually true. Personally, I already uninstalled. And after a second incident of this scale, I do not think it is reasonable to assume the situation is under control just because someone said it is. And that's why I'm referencing this previous hack so much. Because one time, yeah, sure, maybe, right? Not that big of a deal. Sort of a big deal, but, you know, maybe it's just like one vulnerability that got exposed and, you know, it was something that somebody could have missed. But a second time in 3 weeks, brother man, what the fuck is even going on? The real concern is not only whether the exploit has been closed now, but also what may have already happened before it was closed. How much information is exposed? How many people have the malicious files? And how many users are still unaware they could be affected? Because this is the thing, guys. Remember what I said before about the Steam auto updates? Steam automatically updates games for you in the background when you're not doing anything. That's why sometimes your processing power and your CPU and your RAM like goes to like 100% utilization, because Steam is like installing and updating games automatically. And so if you've had the game downloaded and you just haven't been playing it, there's a chance your shit is cooked too. Right now, I do not think it is responsible to tell people everything is fine without concrete answers. At minimum, we need a more serious statement from DNA covering the breach timeline, the impact, and what user data or systems were affected, and what players should do next. And until then, people have every right to be cautious about playing, reinstalling, or logging in, or most importantly, spending money on the fucking game, right? Because I don't know if anyone actually feels comfortable doing that shit anymore. There's nothing being done to actually remedy those concerns or talk about what they're doing to like fix this or prevent it from happening again in the future. And so even the people that are like the most dedicated spenders for the fucking game, unless they're literally retarded, they'll stop. Yeah, no, you have to be actually stupid to still be spending money on a game that's getting hacked 2 times in 3 weeks. That is the digital Darwinism award. I don't think anyone would even feel sorry for you if you got actually robbed afterwards. There's no trust anymore. And nothing in this goofy ass announcement over here is doing anything to address those concerns. And this is the thing, guys. This is a situation where, unfortunately, even if you're like a sponsored creator or somebody that like really likes DNA and you're not talking about this shit, you are literally putting your viewers, whatever, like you have an actual moral responsibility at this point to cover this. I'm being honest with you. Even if you're sponsored or whatever, you have a moral obligation to cover this issue and talk about it, because you've been pushing this game to your audience, right? Your audience could have downloaded this patch and your audience could have malware right now. And if you don't cover this and you don't talk about it, you're telling fuck you to your audience. I just want to farm you for views. I don't care if your shit is getting hacked. That's kind of what it is at this point, because this is a major breach of trust. This is a major breach of pretty much everything when it comes to a game. And the response from DNA over here is legitimately so pathetic, it needs to be talked about. And if you don't talk about it, and how bad this response is, you're kind of just losing all credibility in the space as a creator. And you're saying, fuck your audience. You don't care about them. Because you've been pushing this game. And so naturally, I don't actually make DNA content anymore. I've already said the community pisses me the fuck off because they're a bunch of jobless losers that think like time is infinite and time is free because their time isn't fucking worth anything. But I'm still going to talk about it because I made videos on the game in the past. And of course, this is an incredibly farmable situation. If you want answers, I would also suggest contacting their customer support in China. Guys, I wonder what CN is thinking about this, actually. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll have a follow-up over here when we find out what CN thinks about this. Like, I didn't even think... For some reason, I thought CN wasn't, like, CN wouldn't be impacted by this shit either. No, we at some point, we're probably going to have to see what happens to CN. Because apparently the English or global side has a long history of not responding meaningfully to user concerns. You think they have a proper announcement in CN? Who knows? Maybe they didn't do one over there and they're also crashing the fuck out. But yeah, that's going to be the Duet Night Abyss situation, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, like, any censorship of some of the posts that we covered today. Any sort of, like, you know, lockdown of threads, banning of discussions and all of this. Because that's kind of like the next step, right? After you see a response like this, you don't address the issue at all. You don't really provide any meaningful compensation. And then you kind of sweep it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen. That's, of course, a way that certain developers handle things. Maybe DNA is learning from Enfield, and they're learning from Hypergriff. But it's pretty clear that both of these games, right, that I've been talking about, Enfield and Duet Night Abyss, they're kind of both, well, let's be honest, they're both kind of like on the same trajectory, right? Big spike and then down on the merry-go-round. And just as a bit of a bonus, why don't we see what's going on with Enfield on this platform? I just want to see real fast before we close this one out. Bro, they're like the fucking Winter Soldier from Marvel Rivals, bro. It's like, again! Armed and dangerous! Again! Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like, bro. So, yeah, hey, if you have enough view bots, I guess you could get something done, but, yeah, no, this is not looking good. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.